And here we are streaming. I've got to get back so I can see where Pete went. Where did you go, Pete? Oh my gosh.
Did you lose me?
I totally lost you. Okay, I'm
No.
sure everyone can see me and I can't see myself, but this is Michelle Oliver and I am your host today with the Coaching Collective. And I'm here today on Wednesday, as I am every Wednesday, with Pete Ambrosino. And today I would sure love to be, I can't believe I just lost myself on the screen. This is so crazy. Anyway, I'm going to find myself. But today we are going to talk a bit about actually something that I was dealing with one of my clients. And this has become very relevant, and I'm hoping that this will help some of you. And Pete, can you see me okay?
I can see you just fine.
It's so
Absolutely.
crazy that I totally lost access to you. So that's really bizarre. Anyway, okay, there we are. Now I feel more connected. Thank you. So
Okay.
I was dealing with this issue with a client, and if you're open to it, I'd like to just run this by you, and maybe you could provide some coaching on this particular issue, because I'm sure it's so familiar to me and everyone. And this is what it is. Okay. So about 6 months ago, I began working with this woman, very bright, very brilliant. She's got a pretty thriving business. And we came up with a really clear strategy, which was to be implemented immediately. And it's not difficult. It's simple from a rational, logical standpoint, but there are some elements that are outside of the comfort zone of this individual, right? So what has happened is every single week, there's been another reason why we were not able to implement the strategy. And it comes down to this notion of we know what to do. And it's very often our emotional state that prevents us, because those emotions lead into negative thinking and limiting beliefs and all of that. So that is the topic of the day.
Yep. So, I love this because it ties into so many things when we're dealing with our clients. And, the first thing I want to acknowledge is that it's so great to here's what I love about being a coach and being exposed to so many, is because everyone feels like they're alone and they're dealing with their stuff. And I must be the only one that deals with this, and this challenge is in my way, and I just can't get past this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get to identify the patterns and see what can happen and what can potentially get in the way. And a similar story is that people will find me and we create business strategies. We find this breakthrough thing that they've never done in their business before. And it's like going to be so powerful to get the message out. And then all of a sudden, well, what happened? We didn't, right? So what that means is that we as coaches, now we've got to kind of park that strategy and say, okay, we need to build the case for that strategy.
Yes. I love it.
Right? And say, okay, what could be more important than doing the strategy right now? Because that client can have all these moving components, and women, here's another thing. This is why women are smarter than men. Women are smarter than men because they can juggle and jockey 15, 20 different things going on at the same time. And all of a sudden, the one that they made the decision to actually make progress with comes out. However, when they get to unpack all of that and find out, oh, you know what? There's a leak in my ship right now, and I just don't know where it's at. And that could be creeping up because it's getting less and less attention, right? So my sense is you found something that was super, super important for her and her business. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Game changer. It's always the game changer that's outside Otherwise, you would need to change the game, right?
Right. So give me a sense of what was, like, if you could generalize, what was the idea behind the like, what would it have done for her and her business?
Oh, it would have built the entire business.
In which way?
It would
People,
have,
skills?
and it still will. It will multiply her audience.
Mm,
And that's the most significant thing that needs to happen right now.
got it.
And it would happen in an organic way,
Oh,
so that there's no ad spend. And
yeah.
it would solve a lot of different problems at once. It would
Mm,
build her network, it would build her list, it would grow her confidence, clarify her vision. All of these things.
okay.
packaged
So
in
here's what I would, and again, not knowing the details, but my guess or my sense would be that maybe imposter syndrome kind of crept in. And now all of a sudden I've got to do something outside of my comfort zone to expand this. And I'm just, not this kind of person. I just don't feel good about expanding or talking about this thing or going on that new social media platform and telling the world about that. And we all have this perception of, I have to put myself out there, and that's a scary place to be, is out there, right? And I'm just guessing, but it could be something that the pain to remain the same is less than the pain is to change, right?
Yes. The
So
pain to remain the same. I think there's a different way to say that, but I get what you're saying. It's like the pain to leave the comfort zone is too much.
yep.
The payoff, that's the word. The payoff to stay is the thing is, this can get pretty deep pretty fast.
Super
Because
fast.
we don't like to look at our payoff for staying the same. We don't usually like to look at those things. That's painful too. Like, what are you really, it's like with the weight loss thing, which is such a relatable topic. When we really look at, like, what are you getting? What is the payoff for not doing the thing that's going to make a difference? It's always that, right?
Well, that's a great point, because it has nothing to do, the weight loss thing or the exercise thing has nothing to do, really. The important piece is not really the way we look or what happens physically, but it's how we feel inside.
Yes.
And now if I feel better, now I can do better. Now I have more to give, right?
Right.
So let's back up just a moment and get into that pain. And I might invite this person to come up with, and I would want to swirl her in this a little bit and just kind of get into that soup a little bit and stir it up and see what it's like to remain the same, and see if she's really unpacking why this is better. Right? And say, okay, if I don't do this strategy, if I don't execute in these incremental steps or whatever that look like, in the next 6 months, I'm going to be in the same place. I might have grown a little bit, might have had a little steady incline, but I won't reach the magnitude at which that I desire. So now that we've established what it's going to be like, what did that really cost you? In emotions, financial, people, values, like what's the goal of the business, right? You had mentioned goal, how emotions get in the way of our goals. So is the goal really the goal? No.
Exactly.
The goal is not the goal.
Exactly.
It's making little steps. I would invite you to throw the goals away, and in fact, I'm even, retraining myself right now that I don't need to reach that goal. I just need to get one more step closer in progress, but a little bit better than yesterday than I was the day before. A little bit better tomorrow than the day before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That feeling. And then when you look back after doing 5 days of just a little bit better, look at the gap you just filled,
Mhm.
right?
That's so powerful. It's so simple. And it's
And
so powerful. I mean, this is why the same book has been written over and over and
over and
over
over and over
again.
again. This is
It's
not
like
new
a tiny
information.
habits, atomic habits, the compound effect. I mean, one more thing, like we just keep reading it. And sometimes I think, I don't know what it's like for men because I'm not a man. And when you said women are smarter, I don't know if that's true. I think men are less complicated, and it makes it, I think that's the smart way. Like, I think women really struggle to simplify, to get to that place, because we're so aware of so much information at all times. Like, I love the first conversation I ever had with you. I remember you saying women are like airplane, what do you call it?
Air traffic
Air
controllers.
traffic controllers. And I thought, wow, that's true. And yet that can be really confusing because we're all over the place, and with our heart, like, okay. So to simplify it, I think with women, the emotion is a tremendous thing. I don't want to say anything negative. It's just a thing.
Well,
Okay. It's
no. Can I let me give you permission to expand on that,
totally, yeah.
because without emotion, nothing else happens.
Mhm.
Emotion creates action.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the first thing that in order to get a result or create an action, there first must be a driving emotion.
Totally. Yes.
And if we have too many of them swirling around like an air traffic controller, and we don't know which one to pick, because all these different ones, all these different planes, or all these different things that are going to happen. If I land this plane, how am I going to feel? If I land this plane, how am I going to feel? Right? Do I want to feel that? And here's the dirty little secret. Most women need to be heard and given that ability to unpack and say and talk about those planes that are in the air, and deciding and actually, and women typically do this with amongst themselves, and they get it, they think they get it out, but they're also being protective about what they share with that other person, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm with you, or if I'm with a female client, it's complete permission to just tell me about that.
Yes.
And then if I hear a stuck point that's causing this person to say, and let's just say for a moment, and I don't know the situation, I'm just going to guess, but most of us 4 years ago or pre-COVID never really were comfortable in talking in front of a camera all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
This is all we do all day, right?
Well, it's what we do now, right? It's like, it's no big deal to get in front and
Yeah.
have a conversation like the Jetsons used to do on, you know what I mean? So this type
Oh,
of
that's
thing,
true.
right? You remember that?
Yeah. I'd forgotten. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, it's okay. But that's the thing. And if there's an uncomfortable feeling, or if the emotion is not where they live most of the time. Here's the thing. Have you ever met someone that is that we'll call it emotional home, is just upset and angry, and they've got this face on all the time?
Yeah, I had a client like that.
Sure. And it's just where they
Those
live, right?
people only live in corporate. No entrepreneurs like that.
None.
Kidding.
So, but wherever we live, and wherever is emotionally home for us, if something stretches us out of that, or turns up the temperature, or turns it down to be too cold, right? We want to get back to that 70 degrees, no matter where we are, right? So we have to unpack what is it that's causing me not to even make this much progress? Because
Yes.
what's the first step in getting to the gym?
Well, for me, it's usually putting on the right shoes to go out the door.
That's right. I mean, putting on your sneaker. If I can get a client to just put on their sneakers walk in the gym, say hi, and walk out.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all I want you to do tomorrow. Send me a
Yeah.
selfie with you saying hi to the person at the front desk
Yeah.
and walk out. Don't do anything.
I love that. I've done that too as well.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, so let me recap just a little bit here, okay? Emotion, everyone knows, is like energy in motion, right? So it's not good or bad, it is. It just
Yeah.
is, and it's all the time almost. And to your point about women, it's really true that we become more self-aware through the process of communicating. Like, and I do that alone all the time when I'm alone, and my son will come in and he's like, why are you talking to yourself again? I was like, just talk, because there's me, myself, I. If I'm not around other people, there's three of me and we're having the conversation. I know that sounds crazy, but every woman will understand. So I do want to invite anyone who is watching this, wherever you are in your process, and if it's around business and you have questions about this emotion thing, like where is emotion stopping me? We just want to invite you to send us a question or jump on live with us next week or the week after. And we're open to doing a hot seat, right, Pete?
That would be unbelievable. And you know what? Here's another thing. That invitation is gold, and they can email if they have a challenge, they want to email and get an answer. It's like, you don't necessarily have to become a client or anything to get some solutions and for us to add value. We're always looking to give and help solve, right? Guys especially, right? Guys are, I'm gonna fix this, right? And most of the time it doesn't need to be fixed. But here's one of the other components that can get in the way, and even you or I in front of the same client might not pick up on it. There could be something spiritually or energetically that could be a block. I just had this with a client the other day. She had what was it? She had her chakras checked, and the person that checked her
You
said
guys
there was
believe Pete is talking about chakras?
right.
Sorry, I had to interject there.
No,
I love it.
It's a huge thing, and it's something to where people call me intuitive, and I'm not. I think I am. I think I can pick up on energy and things like that, but I can also pick up on when things aren't really right. And you might do the best coaching you can for that client, but if there's a blockage in some kind of energy flow in their body, I got news for you. You or I, or the best guru coach in the world, is not getting anywhere until that block is released or figured out or identified that, maybe something else. It's the same with having a story around what's in the way of my success. I might be afraid of success. I might be afraid of making too much money. Why am I afraid of making too much money? Is it because of my grandparents who lived through the Depression? Maybe, right? So we can unpack, how many different ways can you unpack things? But, it's a real thing. And does it affect emotion? Absolutely. Energy affects emotion all the time.
I'm just always so happily, pleasantly, delightfully surprised by you. And okay, so let's talk about this just a little bit around this particular person. Okay. So I think I have been trained in a variety of different somatic healing things because of the way I was raised and everything. And I've been through a lot of different stuff like that. And what is happening right now in the business world is anything goes. Like, I don't know that that's the right way to say anything goes. I think everything is a musical. So I want to start singing that. But it's really, my point is that we're living in a time where we have permission to really be expansive and to be more inclusive. So you can use this awareness, and there's so much information available, so many resources available. And I want to bring it back to the coaching too, because my experience is the magic of coaching is that when you're with someone that you feel safe with, you can go in all of these directions, especially like if you're in business and you connect with Pete and he is aware of all these areas of life, like a tremendous international business coach and strategist, and yet he can also pick up on what's going on with your energy or where you might be blocked. Look at the efficacy of that interaction. I mean, it just is a no-brainer. Everything is holistic.
Thank you for that. And you know what else I've become over the past, I'm going to say over the past year, since my recovery from, I don't even know if I told you this, but my recovery from COVID hit me pretty hard.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a long story around that, but in the past year, maybe year and a half, I've become unapologetic about spirituality. If somebody, and it plays a big role in some people's lives, no matter where they are or who they believe, what they believe, and so forth, energetically, mindfulness, spirituality, whatever that means to them, has an effect on our emotions.
completely does. Yes.
Who sits with you and gives you permission to sit and open up a conversation like that without feeling judged? Not many people, right? So I thought it interesting, especially, and it just didn't come up until right now that we started talking about it, because we talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about and we don't know the direction it goes. And to me, it's kind of fun to see how it all ends up, right?
Yeah, me too. And we really don't know each other that well. We're learning as we're getting to know all of you. So
right. So again, I am not gonna feel funny or feel protective around it. It's a thing. It's something that a client, any woman or man needs permission to talk about. I am blessed to be in environments where we have really, really high level conversations about this stuff. And, these guys are like, man, it's so cool to, hang out and be able to talk about this stuff, because I can't talk about it with my buddies back home. You know what I mean? So that freedom and that ability to really not feel alone can happen on so many levels. And that, hey, that thing that's getting me stuck in my way right now is happening to a million other people right now.
yeah. Okay. So I just want to bring it back to this one thing, because I'm thinking of two of my clients now and I really value this conversation, because in the groups that I have, spirituality is and I too am very unapologetic, and because it's all about how we are communicating and the intention that we show up with. And I think people read that, they feel it. And I have people from, very, very Christian. I have Catholics, I have very New Age, I have people, and they're all in the same group. And that's what makes life rich, right? And then those barriers come down, and then we interact and healings happen that change the business, because there is no separation between business. And it's so funny. It hasn't always been comfortable or safe or okay to even talk about that. But businesses are made out of people. And we're serving people. What else is it? And people have emotions. And people have bodies and hearts and spirits, and it's like, it's just so funny. Anyway, I forget what I was going to say.
No, here's the supposition. Imagine if this journey that we're on right now was supposed to be adventurous, mysterious, and fun?
Yes,
What if it was fun to kind of figure out what the heck got in the way of me getting my homework done these past 2 weeks?
exactly.
Why is this a thing? Why does it have to be a bad thing? What if it's part of the learning that maybe the big guy upstairs has in front of us? Right? Who knows? It can be, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's a sign that, hey, wait, maybe we need to switch directions because this strategy isn't going to work, but I can get to the same outcome if I switch up and do something this way.
Well, this is the basis of the book that I was telling you about that I'm so excited is going to release.
I'm excited for you.
Because think of it like this. I was just writing about this morning. Like, here's your vision, here's you, and then there's all these obstacles and stuff in the way. And you know how you're supposed to get there, but then you get scared, you get doubt. It's always an emotion. And then we set up this thing where it's like, okay, now I'm going to get better at this so I can climb this painful mountain, And we spend decades thinking, to your point, I've done this, by the way, many times. I'm all alone. I'm the only one that is suffering like this. Everyone else is at the top of the mountain and they're rolling down the other side in their golden chariots, But the fact is, to the point of energy,
Yep.
you can stand where you are and release and walk over there or skip over there or hold someone else's hand and like swim or do. It can be an emotion, the energy of emotion, however you want, if you let go of stuff. Like the letting go is what we resist.
Yep. So part of the reason I love hanging out with you on Wednesdays is because I know what kind of energy you're coming to this podcast with, and it's contagious.
That could be good or bad, I guess. I worked out today. That helps.
Exactly. And if I were to come to a coaching call to you and I see this energy and exude, now, okay, our time is done. Now I go back to real life. And if my life is not surrounded by that positive energy and have some reinforcement going on in there, guess what gets in the way immediately? The negative Nancy's, the negative down, the stories, the however many things can just pull you down and all that other stuff. When we don't have that, and I don't want to, emotional intelligence is not the right word, but emotional tool to say, no, this is my direction and this is what I'm going to do because this is my outcome and I love my outcome and I'm going to be, and this is who I get to be. This is who I get to become when I make progress this much. That's all I want to do is I want to go this far. And then the next day I'm going to go this far. That's it. And nobody's going to tell me no. It's so powerful.
It's so powerful. I think it's so, we make it so complicated.
Yep.
And
you were also talking about having somebody that would just send you a text and say, get your butt up and let's go. I'm waiting for you for 5 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah. He was a driver and that's exactly what I needed.
Yep. And that's why, and I'm sure you do too, you're available between your coaching calls for your client. If they get stuck, I encourage all the time. I'm like, here's your homework. If something gets in the way on Tuesday, you better send me a text, and I'll be darned if I'm sending you a long-winded test. I'm going to pick up the phone and do a 5-10 minute unstuck phone call with you. Because now something happened that they came into that home again, and we don't know. And if they stop there, then the whole week goes by, no progress.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Now, before we wind up running out of time, I want to bring it back and ask you. So if someone comes to you and they say, Pete, I've been struggling with this thing and I know I need to do it. And you recognize a block there and you're saying, okay, the strategy and everything else. Can you share, like, do you have a different energetic tools? Like, how do you address that with them? Because
That's a great
people
question.
come with different levels of receptivity to stuff like that. And I'm sure it's a case by case basis,
Sure.
but do you, and you don't have to go into detail, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, but do you bring their attention to the fact that there could be a spiritual or emotional block?
Oh,
Energy?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. Yeah, because you know what? It's about digging in, and this is where the phone calls or the time spent with a coach is completely different than the time spent with a therapist or a doctor or somebody that's sitting there in judgment.
Yeah. Or
I
label,
get, yeah, or it's
labeling.
putting a
Oh
diagnosis on
my
your face.
gosh.
Like, get the heck out of here. It's like, tell me, if all of a sudden something, it's language. I'll tell you, there's what it is. It's the language that's used around something that causes me to get more curious about where I need to dig.
Oh, I love that. Wait, let's say that again. The language around something that allows you to get curious about where you need to dig.
It's
Is
the,
that right?
yep,
Okay,
yep,
go on. That
yep.
was significant. So I just,
Yeah, because what we feel, we say, right? If I said, "Oh my God, I got to go on this podcast with Michelle," well, what? Wait a minute, why would that be? Right? I'm looking forward to going. You know what I'm saying? So it can be something as simple as that, or a um,
like when I said a slave of my calendar, you
yes.
corrected, you
I was
called
like,
me out on
whoa,
that. You're like,
whoa,
wait a
no,
second,
no,
no
yeah.
slave energy here.
And here's why. When you said slave of calendar, what you really mean, and this is, and I know that you have a high value to being on time and doing what you say, right? So your calendar is a way for you to stay on track with that because that's important to you.
Yeah, because I'm terrible at it. It's a tool, and I know that's a negative thing, but it's a self-awareness of, when you are alone a lot, which
Yep.
has happened to a lot of us, depending on our work,
Yep.
it's on you to create a structure in your day, or you can just float. So, and a lot of women who are starting these journeys, they're leaving corporate, by the way, in droves,
Oh yeah.
starting businesses.
Oh yeah.
And the first thing you realize is freedom. You're thinking that freedom, that's not freedom. Like
Mm.
what you thought was freedom isn't freedom.
Mm.
And the first thing you're faced with is, how do I organize my life according to my values and my vision, and then hold myself accountable to that? So anyway, I'm getting down a rabbit
Well,
trail.
no, it's okay because it all comes back to what we value and what we can't control or get back. We can't get back the time that we spent. And like we've been kind of building on, it all comes back to our values around time and how when you set the intention for what's in your schedule, now you can just kind of take a breath and go like, okay, I know that if I get all these things done, or if I make it to every one of these things, I set the week up for success, and I've
Yeah.
allowed for interruptions, right? But if something is in the way, and because I've got, Susie made me feel upset because, because I'm spending so much time in my business that she doesn't get attention. Well, then guilt sets in for whatever reason, right? And now I'm not going to make the calls that I should have, or the follow-ups that I should have, or going on the podcast that I should have, or said the message on social media that I should have, right? Just because that one thing gave you the excuse or the reason or the story to say, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow comes and I'll do that tomorrow, right? So that's the power of having a little board of directors. Love it.
I'm thinking of so many things when you're talking. Everybody needs a coach. That's all I can say. I'm not like trying to pitch anyone. I'm just saying, how many times have you, if anyone is at all like me, how many times have you done that? Exactly what Pete just described. And when you were going through your list of what ifs, I was thinking, what if every time one of those obstacles or potential excuses or real reasons why we couldn't do it comes into our awareness? What if our job was to let go of it in a playful energy instead of add to ourselves? I think there's this, when we're talking about emotion, there's like this energy where we're always like, I got to fix myself. I got to improve myself. I got to learn. I got to drive. I got to hustle. I got to be better. I got to, fix. When in fact, like when you're talking about blockages, think about it. You don't fix a blockage. You
Nope.
release it.
Yep.
And it's because you can.
Yep.
You can do that.
And here's the secret around that. It can be nothing, and it's not new news. It's not a new technique, but if a different perspective on something can sit back and say, "Oh my God, is it really that easy? Oh my God, why have I been putting this off so long? Why did I not get my stuff done in the past 2 weeks when all I need to do was take that first step?" I'll give you a case in point. I had another client this week that it's been probably the past month that when we opened up his schedule and we looked at things that were necessary and we prioritized these certain business tasks, let's just say, right? Now, this guy is not a, I think you're a very outgoing person. I think that it would be, you would be someone that we could strike up a conversation somewhere and we didn't know each other and be no big deal, right?
Yeah.
There's some people that don't do that. They just do avoid, right? Not the most outgoing and just not part of their makeup, right?
Yes.
So very data-driven person, very analytical, very intelligent, extremely nice guy, coaches baseball for kids.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So the perspective that changed was making, call it making sales calls. Right? Making sales calls. Well, I don't feel good about going out and selling something, but I could certainly feel good about going out and making friends. There's a whole different twist on it. I'm good at going out and making friends. I'm horrible at going out and selling somebody something. Right? But the distinction that happened was he went out, he made a friend with intention. This friend had a certain circle of people that could send a lead to him. And it came to fruition to where the lead turned into a deal.
Great.
Now, you want to talk about hitting a grand slam out of the park right away. When he started unpacking what the steps were that he took to actually get there, he all of a sudden the realization came that block that got in the way for the month went away, and he'd be like, oh my God, all I got to do is go do more of that, and it's not even sales.
Yeah, it's never. I know, that's so great.
This is the shy guy that likes baseball and he can help. Okay, all of a sudden his income is just going to blow up.
Yeah.
because
That's
the deals
wonderful.
are going to keep coming and coming as a result of just a little tweak of a strategy of creating a partnership.
Mhm.
It was so amazing to be a part of that this week.
That
I
is
didn't
so
even think
amazing.
about that when we started talking about it.
These are the things that you think are wouldn't make a difference, right?
Yep.
It's everything. It's like you pull what do you call it? Like the kingpin,
Yep.
and then it all tumbles down. So I think that I love what you said about perspective. And I think that often we don't think that it's possible for us to get the results based on any strategy, or all we can see is the obstacles. Like we keep acting out of that brain, right? Where it's like, okay, where's it all going to fall down? Where's the bad thing? Where is it not going to work? And yet, when you shift your perspective, it can be like the difference between looking here and just like looking that different,
Yep.
just like
Yeah.
shifting your gaze a little bit.
Yep.
And rather than, like you were saying, the perspective of you're just making a friend. Well, even with working out or like what this woman was dealing with, it's really teeny tiny toddler steps.
Yep.
And you shift the reason, like you're not doing it, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And we make it so big. But
Huge.
if you get back to like, why are you doing this again? It just makes it so much easier to open the door and step out.
Sure. And you know what? Here's the thing. Coaches aren't perfect either. We could see something and there could be an easy solution or an easy idea, right? But it
Mhm.
may not be right for that person. So we have got to be able to shift and kind of have a do-over, because it's the same thing that happened with this guy. And he uh we identified that, hey, Pete's idea that we tried for the last 3 weeks, that sucked. We need to do something else. Let's do this instead. If we were to adjust it, what would that look like? Right.
We're
And
on
then
this journey.
that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, and who else would you get to do that? Go out and get the permission to screw something up, be good with it, and say, no, let's try something else.
Yeah. Most of the relationships are guarded. Like you said, women will process this stuff
Yeah.
with other women, but there's also, if you're a woman, all the weird stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So, it's another web. It can be helpful, but there's we're not going to get into that today, but that's another day, another conversation, which
There's more
I,
content there.
I love to have, of course. So anyway, maybe we can leave it here that, first of all, anyone who has watched this long, we always go much longer than we say we're going to go. You're welcome to submit. Like if you don't want to get on and do a hot seat, you can submit via email. Just what is your biggest business challenge? And Pete will address that, and I'll pipe in a couple of 2 cents. Or if you're really brave and you want to join this journey, come on with us like next week or the week after or whenever. And we're going to call it a love seat, not a hot seat. Okay.
There you go.
We're
That's
going to
awesome.
change our language around that, because
Well,
language truly is really, really powerful. And that's another conversation too. But let's leave it like this. Energy is energy, right? And emotion is just energy. You could have a block that has nothing to do with a strategy that's preventing you from implementing a brilliant strategy that can totally change your business. So maybe be open to that conversation. And then what did I miss? What can you wrap it up? Because I know
the
tracked here.
my biggest takeaway from our conversation today was the identification, or the permission to look in all different facets of our life, and not just hey, what's wrong? And, oh, that it's just not that. And we're not alone in this business world, in our relationships, in things that are all the dynamic of what makes us human, right? And we're allowed to explore, we're allowed to learn. That to me was the biggest takeaway, with the permission to be able to explore all that and be okay with it. It's not that we're what's that expression? We're a spirit on a human journey, or what is that?
We're spiritual beings
spiritual
having
beings on
a physical
human
experience, a human experience.
Yeah, exactly, right.
You can be
So
whatever you want to be.
how about if we have fun with that? How about if we figure that out, right? That's the part. And for me, it's like, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. So
That's so great. I'm so happy to hear you say it. Did y'all hear that? If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. I mean, think about why you get into business in the first place. I mean, there are variations on that theme for sure.
some don't know why. Some get stuck on that it's to make more money, have more stuff, right? But to make more money and have more stuff, there's a lot of unhappy millionaires out there. You know that.
Yeah, and that's okay, because everybody has an option to pivot and shift, just like you said, in the coaching relationship. And everything really is about, I don't want to sound too Pollyanna here, but it's just the truth that everything is about learning. Like you said, we have permission to learn. And that's what's happening with everyone at every level. I know you work with a lot of very successful, wealthy people, and the challenges are just bigger.
It's the same, just add a zero.
Yeah, yep. Love is love, fear is fear, anxieties, like we all are having a shared thing. It's not like you're better, you're worse, or whatever. It's just, yeah. Isn't it an amazing time to be alive and be growing business? So much opportunity for anyone in business right now, right in the midst of all the stuff you're hearing. You can choose what you're thinking about and where you want to go and what you want to build. And, Pete's helped a lot of people. So anyway, we got to sign off here, and we'll be back next week. Thank you so much. And again, this is coming to you from the Coaching Collective. We are all about elevating the coaching industry, opening up candid conversations to serve all of you better. So that's why we're here, and let us know how we can do that more effectively for you.
Love it. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a blast as always.
It's going to be an amazing day.
Absolutely. You too.
See you soon.